Okay, it's almost swim time. Jackie, could you give us your tips on how to get ready for a good swim?
So all your stuff is in transition already. Your bike's put in, you know where your bike is. And then usually around 40 minutes to half an hour, I like to head down to the start and I always like to get my wetsuit on early. It does take a while to put a wetsuit on and the last thing you want to be doing is rushing that, especially when it's hot. But pop your wetsuit on and then you can always cool off in the water. So if you can, get in that water, just swim a little bit, maybe swim out to the first can. Some people like to do a bit more of a warm up if that suits them better. But I always like to swim out to the first can, make sure I'm sighting in the right direction, just checking out the beach area, if you're going to run to the right, to the left, and what the conditions are like, really. Is there any waves if it's ocean, or is there any sandbanks, or is there any obstacles or anything in that water that you want to miss or you want to try and avoid? If you are a weaker swimmer, I always find it better to go on the outside and just take your own line and maybe even just let some of the faster swimmers go. And I always tell a lot of my athletes who aren't super confident in the swim to perhaps not go out too hard and to build into the swim a little bit and try and finish strong rather than getting into oxygen debt initially and then generally having to stop because you're a little bit panicked. But for the good swimmers like Ben or used to be myself a little bit more, really get out there, and as long as you're warmed up well, you can have a really good fast start and try and make it to that first can first to avoid any confusion or anyone ducking you under the water or just so you're not fighting with everybody else in the swim. And just leading on from what Ben said, just about arriving early, this is another thing you can do. If you're there early and you're not panicked, you could, even the day before, perhaps swim a lap of the swim course, or even on the morning of the race, you can have a look, just check the swim course, check where the cans are, how many there are they right turns, are they left turns? Just go through that in your head so that when you are swimming, you can focus on the swimming and not so much wondering if you're going in the right direction. Always good to have some spare goggles. I always used to give my mum a pair of spare goggles in case mine snapped. So maybe if you could hide some on the grass embankment or close to the swim start, or give some to your kids or your partner or a friend, just in case you do have any issues at the swim start that your goggles might snap. And just don't panic, really. I always find with my athletes, a lot of people who are not the best swimmers have far better swims when they ease into it and find their own way around the course.
Some really helpful advice and points there, Jackie. Thank you so much. Ben, anything else that you would like to add for the swim?
The only thing I'd add, Jackie did pretty well there and covered most points, is obviously the swim. I always feel you're standing on the start line and you're waiting around. So you got a lot of time to think and you're in your own head a little bit. In that period of time when I'm there focusing and waiting for the swim to start or the race to start, I just try to focus on succeeding rather than focusing on failing. I like to try and say to myself, what do I need to do to perform my best today, and then run through those scenarios and situations so that when it arises, I know what to do. So that small window of opportunity that you have while standing on the start line, waiting around for the swim to start, it's a good way to sort of visualize the process of how you're going to achieve success.